We are live on Byzantian Brews Radio. Coming to you live at 102.8
We've got 90s
FM.
shock hosts now.
I've been seeing some like
The
meme
handle's
posts.
gonna be like D-bag or something, wear like a backwards cap.
I've been seeing some meme posts lately,
In
like
the morning.
dwarven and elven radio, rock and stone radio, ting ting ting, that kind of thing.
By D-bag and Stonebeard.
Hello, everybody.
I still got the Vuvuzela sounds though.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Welcome back to the Byzantian Brewscast with your hosts Chaoticjexak and Byzantiadev.
There we go.
It's certainly been a week. It's been a week. Byzantiadev.
Say that every week. It has been a single week.
It has been a week. I literally, kind of almost to the hour, except this time I'm not late to the fucking stream.
I hate when you get to the end of the week and there's like an hour missing. Let it go.
There's a whole missing hour. Time itself has become delayed. I hate it when time
Taking
dilation.
the train.
I hate it when time dilation removes an entire hour from my week.
Yeah. There's no work actually. How's your throat after Friday night?
Surprisingly okay. It was actually okay on Saturday morning even. So for context, we went karaokeing a little bit.
It did narrow karaoke at like lane 7.
Yeah, it was actually not a bad pricing, £9 per person. That's not bad actually for a good hour of karaoke.
For those that never been it, it's like an arcade / bar / karaoke place with bowling alleys and beer pong. It's like it's a nightclub, but not really.
Yeah.
Great.
Other things that were kind of interesting about the karaoke. So karaoke wise, we did a bunch. We did country roads.
Memes.
Yeah, meme stuff. So
There's many memes.
so karaoke wise, we did.
It was Pokemon at one point.
It was the Pokemon theme. The poker
Excuse
rap
that one.
wasn't on their list. I don't know how we can add custom stuff to the list
Oh
potentially.
no!
I also could not find. I don't want to set the world on fire. So they have Fallout 76's theme, or effectively, they have
That's good.
one of the main songs from New Vegas, but they don't have Fallout 3's, and I didn't actually check if the Wanderer was on there. That's a next time. Let's see if they have Fallout 4's effective theme on there.
Well, they had Big Iron.
And they did have Big Iron. That was very funny. They unfortunately did not have the Big Iron, but Marty Robbins gets killed by a train halfway through.
That's amazing. Yeah. Someone decided that an easy start would be Thunderstruck. That's really easy to sing.
Yeah, it's really easy to sing, especially when you're a dumbass like me who tries to sing it in pitch. No less.
Yeah, I tried for like a minute, then I was like, no, that's not gonna happen.
Yeah. I tried doing the same thing towards the end
But
with Welcome to the Jungle, and I forgot how high-pitched Welcome to the Jungle was, and oh gosh, my throat. Hence the concern for my throat.
Yeah, in one song, you didn't stop trying the whole time.
It was like, ow, my throat is hurting, but I've come this far. Imagine if you were...
You weren't even drinking that much as well.
Yeah, imagine if we were scored for that. Ugh. Points for accuracy.
I think some of mine might not have been terrible.
You did quite well.
Maybe subpar.
I think my favorite bit of the night was we did Barbie Girl, but everyone was orcs.
That was amazing.
My
I don't know. I was going for the version I remember from like the 90s.
Oh, it was a different version. I just assumed there was just one.
I was going for the I was going for the authenticity.
Ah.
Do you know where Ken sounds like he's really some really sleazy guy who just picked Barbie up at like Broad Street at 3 a.m.?
Come on, Barbie. Come on. You want a cheeky one behind the
That's
back
the
of the
one.
pub? I don't know why it's now
It's
northern.
almost like that. But
It's just northern
he just says
Kent.
like, I think there's a line about hanky panky early on in the song. It's a weird
Yeah,
song.
it's very much a thing of its time.
Oh dear. No, worth it though. Just go to karaoke and pick all the worst songs on the list. You'll have a great time.
I was actually gonna see if Lane 7 have like an online list of their full karaoke list, but I don't think they do, unfortunately.
Oh yeah.
Because that would be
There's a few others
fun.
I would have picked, but we're all putting stuff on.
Yeah.
Well, next time we'll go, we'll we'll book like more than 1 hour maybe.
Hmm.
I think that could be decent.
Yeah, I think that'd be interesting. I'm trying to see. There's packages. I didn't even realize you could like
Yeah,
book.
we'll see what the price is like. Anyway, karaoke always fun. I
That's
would
true.
recommend get a drink down you first at least
Or two,
because
or three.
it got uh, I had four.
I think I had
It was
like
fine.
two, but I
It
don't know. It hit me quite quickly.
it certainly helped. Certainly
I
helped me enjoy it a bit more. Um, if I did have a church the day after as well. Am I mistaken that for Sunday?
Pardon? Sorry, I my brain completely went.
They have a church thing the day after as well.
Yeah, yeah. I have like church service, which also includes singing. Which is
Oh God.
that's definitely a thing that occurs. Being having to
Would it
sing.
made you feel any better that I was also thinking of putting on Take on Me?
That would have been fun. That would have been fun actually.
With none of us had gone that would have been botched.
Take
I did.
on
No,
me,
I was
as you do.
I did I had a volunteering thing down at the running festival
Nice.
from 1 p.m. to 5 p.m., which is quite good. Pre-day at the NEC.
A
Um, it was a decent time. Got got my sweat on mascotting around the NEC for the Birmingham Children's Hospital for 3 hours, and then I had a cheeky run around the venue. So I got to do some. I got to do archery, practically blind because in the suit at the time. Um,
I would love. I'm
Miraculously
imagining you.
with
I'm imagining you like doing
there
archery,
for the day. So
basically blind, but still somehow get doing very well.
well, with a lot of guidance, I managed to get 1 out of 4.
That's not bad.
Well, yeah, given that I literally couldn't turn to look in the
Yeah.
direction where I was shooting, that's pretty good. Yeah. They also had free ice baths. So when I was out the suit for the day, I thought, you know what? I actually want to try a free ice bath, which was a really fun idea at the time. Uh, it
Hmm.
worked, but you know, you think you obviously think it's going to be cold because it's called an ice bath. I mean, of course it's going to be cold, but no, it's really, really cold. It really, it's a fun experience really because they're doing this in the middle of the NEC as well. So people walking by, they can see you. So you have to sign an online waiver
Yeah.
in case you have like some heart, the rare event you have a heart attack or something. Once that was signed, just they got someone always guides you through it because it sounds daft, but you do need it because the cold is that much of a shock.
Hmm.
Um, and you and in the middle of the NEC is like, all right, and just he says, right, take your kit off and just like put onto your boxes and just like step on in. Um, so I did, trusting a lot of people, then see not to just nick my trousers and stuff while I'm standing in my ice bath. The standing part's actually really easy, you know. It's actually at the everything afterwards, like you're sitting down the leaning back bit. You get used to you're used to the cold initially, and then they ask you to move into a new position, and you get re-shocked all over again.
Oh, that's a yikes.
The feeling when you go into like cold water, it gets just above your waist. Like that every time you move to a new position, it's like it just resets it.
Me when Skegness, just in general.
Oh, yeah, like that all the time. So you need to remember how to breathe again because you forget how to breathe properly when you're effing and blinding because it's really cold. But it's good for your muscles though, if nothing else. Um, so it works, but it's not recommended for long because
Hmm.
it is that cold. I imagine about 2 minutes, which apparently wasn't too bad for someone that's never bothered to have an ice bath. I mean, it was not really anything you think of doing, to be honest, but it was free.
Hmm.
Happened to be there, um, and I needed to. I literally bought a new shirt at the event because I'd sweated through
Nice.
the free one I got from some
Oh.
event long ago because it was just right. I mean, I'm not walking home or getting a train back in this sweaty old thing.
Yeah.
I literally brought a new shirt for it to shower, and it was quicker just to get an ice bath at the venue.
Oh.
So yeah, that was fun. Yeah, so I did a bit of a speed run of the event afterwards. So that was fun. Uh,
Could the NEC
I
event
woke up this
speed
morning feeling a
running?
bit. Yeah, if for whatever reason you really need a bath, right? One day of the year, running festival, just show up, free ice bath. Wake you up really quick too if you're sleepy. Dear. That was really good though.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, it was on today as well, but it was only on book for the one day. So
Uh,
I think if someone bumped into everyone I wanted to bump into that day anyway.
nice. Hello,
When I'm on the job, I like
Angus.
to.
Hello
Ooh,
there. Welcome to the
oh, hello.
chat.
Person on the
Hello.
internet I don't know. Um, hopefully I do want to do it in a bit. Yeah. So when I'm on the job, like sometimes they're really strict about like they want you near the stand a lot or something.
Hmm.
Obviously branding and all that. But they don't mind if you get a bit of for this, especially for the NEC. If you do a bit of wandering, they don't mind. Especially if they're not overly worried you're gonna topple over into someone or something. Vision's not so great in those things.
Yeah.
I was doing laps most of the day,
Uh,
which sometimes took a little while because when it's about what the suit's got like it's not got a big inner bit, but it's like the bit's like it's a big old uh like tubing ring with the material over it. So it
okay.
looks really wide, and it is really wide. It takes forever to get anywhere. Especially when it's like midday or something, when everyone's there.
Hmm.
Um, Really fun event though. Love doing it, but it
It's
gets really really hot, more hot than usual, and getting around takes a while.
yeah, I can imagine. It's sort of like waddling around near enough.
Yeah, I can do that. Tall enough that it's less waddling and more genuinely walking.
Ah.
But as you keep getting stopped every now and again, because of course you
Yeah.
do. You stick
Yeah.
out a little bit, and you
Everyone's
got to
like,
smile away,
"Oh,
do the whole routine.
posing for photos or ask you for photos or whatever." Or
That's kind of the best bit of the job, though. To be fair,
hmm.
that's really what it's about. To be honest, getting daft photos. I don't only tried to do archery in it, knowing you couldn't see because it would look good on camera. Hopefully those come out. Hope see if the archery GB stand uploads that.
Yeah.
So I had a busy weekend. I woke this morning feeling very disappointed and nothing to do.
Oh dear. So,
Get other sometimes like being busy.
yeah. I mean,
Yes, anyway,
sometimes,
that was a weekend.
yeah, my weekend has been, well, Saturday was quite quiet because my original plan kind of fell through because one of my group that I normally play Magic with is busy this weekend. So, I think he's like in a different part of the country, probably at some festival or something.
Hmm.
Yeah. Uh,
You
so
know
that
which
was
one?
that. I don't
They've been to
actually.
it.
I didn't ask. I just know he's not available this weekend. But normally, when he's not available, it's I'm going to a concert.
All right. Okay. We mean to go see more stuff. Um, did a little trip away last year for my 30th in Liverpool and just missed a run of the Goes Wrong show. They did their version of Peter Pan, and I was
Oh
kind of gutted
wow.
because if I'd known, I would have bought tickets for that.
Yeah.
So on the list this year is see any of their productions because they're really funny. I like their TV show. I'd give that recommendation.
Hmm. I didn't realize they had a TV show actually. Huh.
They did for a few years. It's really good. Oh, it's a similar kind of stuff every time, but it's a different type of play every time. So it's really quite
Yeah.
good.
It's the what's the not necessarily worst, I guess worst turning out version of the play we could possibly do if everything were to go wrong, save for the acting.
Oh yeah, it's because if you see something go wrong in the show, it's actually meant to go wrong rather than it's not a
Yeah.
mistake. Um,
Oh. Speaking of things going wrong, I've been trying for the past couple of minutes to get out one of
I
my
was going to say we
books.
are. If there's going to be mistakes, so we are not a mistake. Some put some down too much. Um,
Yeah. So this week in TTRPG Book Club, I've got the Sovereign Stone Campaign Source Book, which is a D20 system book, which I think is one of those that works with the 5e, but you could also just use it by itself if you really wanted to, I believe.
okay, I haven't heard of that one. Is that generic fantasy or is that a
Um,
bit off kilter?
I think it's very sort of generic fantasy, which isn't necessarily always a bad thing.
Yeah.
But we've
No,
got
no, it's no. I've brought plenty of decent
we've actually
old
got
era stuff.
various different flavors of human, which is interesting. We've got one, two,
Oh,
three,
like
four, five,
different
six different types of
cultures.
human. Yeah, six different human cultures. We've got something called Pechway,
Okay.
elves, clan dwarves, unhorsed dwarves. Unhorsed dwarves? Page 27.
Oh,
Unhorsed dwarves? Hang on a minute.
Were they
Why are they
were they
called...
like knocked off their horse once and based their entire culture off the fact they got knocked off a horse one time?
Um, I'm so curious. Wait a minute. I'm trying to find it now.
Yeah, I have many questions about that one.
29. Unhorsed dwarves. Why are they called unhorsed dwarves? Ah, unhorsed dwarves are those dwarves who, due to infirmity, injury, illness, or as a punishment for a crime, have been cast out of their clan. Oh, so they're like clan
Oh,
exiles,
that
right?
unhorsed. Oh, I went a
That
different direction with that, but okay, that works too.
not literally unhorsed. Ah, that would be funny though. And there's orcs as well. Um, the
Okay,
classes
no
they've got,
dogs.
the classes they've got down here are archer, barbarian, elemental
Yeah,
mage, fighter,
right.
mounted
Okay.
warrior, noble is a class, rogue,
Right.
sailor, soldier, stalker, and void mage.
So you could play an unhorsed dwarf on a horse.
Apparently, yes, you can play an unhorsed horse, an
That's all.
unhorsed horse on a horse. An
I
unhorsed
want to see an
horse.
unhorsed horse on a horse. That's even funnier.
Unhorsed horse. You're just playing like a reverse centaur on a horse
The
that's been
worst
on a
kind of
horse.
centaur. It's the centaur you get from Wish.
Let's have a look at the
No,
Mounted
that's fine.
Warrior
So
141.
is it like a dedicated campaign book? Or are we talking like a rules like a rule set? Sort of like GURPS or something.
So it has no, it has a bunch. So it has a bunch of kingdoms noted in here.
Right.
Um, there's some champions. There's some creatures. There's a bunch of stat blocks. And it does have some. It does have an adventure in it, by the looks of things. Page 208, and then there's some. Then there's a list of tables as well for various different things. For like you, I think you. Oh, there's also a big ass map. I can't show you the big ass map, but it's the continent of Lorem. If you Google that, you might find there's a map. So it's quite an interesting map.
Might as well while I'm here.
Yeah, look it up. Continent of Loerem.
Do you have heard of that? or maybe it was like an old Warhammer game, one of the the RTS ones.
Yeah.
Maybe that'd be Athelorn, wouldn't it? Have a look.
Uh,
It's giving me old world stuff. Huh.
it might be a bit harder to get a hold of than I initially thought. The
Yeah,
actual
gonna
map.
say I'm having a bit of trouble. Google's having some trouble.
The,
Anyway,
the the
is
the
it a
book
decent map?
is, yeah, it's quite good actually. It's by the looks of this map, it's very main. It's a very mainland oriented world. There's not really that many islands. You know, like how here in the UK we just live on a fucking island middle of fucking nowhere.
Yeah.
There isn't anything like that in this, which is interesting because it means that you don't necessarily have to get a boat to most of the world. Which is there's like
Okay.
maybe the worst you'd have is a ferry across like a tiny strip of land or ocean, land of ocean or river. Don't get a ferry over land, guys. It's not going to work. And that's what they call a
It's a
bus.
really slow trip.
It's a really slow ferry. But we've got things like
Norsemen just
orcish
dragging.
territories, the Vinengalian Empire, divine lands of the Trom. We've got dwarven territories. We've got Dunkara, Kana, Nimra, Trevenishi lands. More. Yeah, it's an interesting map,
Okay.
and it's even like
So
separated into
this is a
squares.
whole world.
Yes, it even has a scale, which is nice. So it has its own
That's nice.
world, and it's got some very pretty pictures in it. Actually, it has got an adventure in it, but there's also a lot of other supplementary books you can get for this, which we'll go into in future episodes of the podcast, because there are more books than just this. Quite a few, actually.
Oh, okay. No, because I've heard of that as um one I picked. You'll definitely know the franchise, but you won't know it's got. You don't know it got a game. Um, I think there's only like three of them. I've got two of the three.
Hmm.
Dragon Ball Z. Uh, I guess tabletop games. The rules of movement were a little bit vague. Um, I picked this one because it has the most D6s it recommends I've ever seen in any game, and I kind of love the idea.
Oh,
Um, so it's based on the at the time brand new show Dragon Ball Z. This is based on the very year.
wow.
Um, even encourage you to make name your own attacks and stuff. Um, it's a very like the show. And downtime was effectively like training as well.
Nice.
Weird thing about it, it was all done in D6s. Everything was in D6s, and all your stats were like I think the low end you're talking like 150.
Hmm.
There
That's.
were some like small differences, like depending on what races you picked, but the time they were limited at the time to what was in the show.
Hmm.
Um, so they got up to like the trunks stuff, like the first trunk stuff, and they sort of stopped there. Um,
My name is
but one thing I always remember, I've always wanted.
my
Oh yeah,
character name is Pant. He's a warrior from the future.
it's from one of the past is pants. There's breeches that's before him, I think.
Breeches, pantaloons, loincloth. I'm a Saiyan from the distant
Oh,
past.
good.
My name is Loincloth.
Oh, the first half saying loincloth. Um, no, but I remember like the amount of like D6 you were supposedly meant to roll was based on like your stat. Like it was a 1-to-1,
Oh.
which got really silly when you were doing like the reference I remember was like they're talking about like Goku in like the Saiyan saga as well.
Hmm.
So this is like early Dragon Ball Z. The basic Kamehameha would be like 900 D6s
How are you?
every
How
time he does it.
how are you supposed to roll 900 d6s?
I don't know, but I want to play it somehow. The whole factory's worth, but I want to do it. And that's per every time he uses it. There's a lot,
Oh,
there's a lot of uses there.
all right.
You could go beyond that as well.
I'm just imagining someone who's like, well, I've only got
Have
like
a, have you?
I've only got like 300 d6. I'm just gonna roll them 3 times.
Yeah. The way damage worked as well, you also rolled hundreds of dice for defense against it as well. And you worked out the difference
Oh,
per dice. So if
yikes!
you've got like some counting supercomputer to do the mass of hundreds of dice at once, then you might be able to play this game. But I love the thought. I want to be in a position to do that at one point, just for the sheer novelty of it.
You just roll up to like a really big local game store and just play straight up DBZ, fucking TTRPG with just
How many
hundreds of
dice have you got?
dice.
How many dice have you got? I'll have all of them.
I can imagine you like rolling up
All
to our
your
game store.
D6s.
There's just two of us. We take two of the big tables. Like, there's only two of you. Why do you need so much table space? Oh, it's for the D6. What do you mean it's for the D6? It's for the D6.
It's industrial. It's industrial dice counting machine I need to bring with me for this game. Like the YouTube channel, you might see like Simone Gertz, I think it is.
Hmm.
She's basically like she's like an engineer. She just makes like wacky stuff. That's kind of the kind of thing she'd make for just like counting stupidly high numbers of dice.
Yeah.
I
So
think
that.
short of an engineering degree, it's kind of hard to play this game. Did that just supplying the dice?
Yeah.
I think that's probably why it didn't well, but I kind of wish it did well just to watch actual play of it.
Hmm.
I mean,
So
imagine like it's now I think on it, the real shame of that, though I didn't take off. Some of the imagine like Critical Role like got into it, and they're all professional voice actors. They could actually do the voices right. That'd be insane.
this is going to be the time where I finally defeat your little group, Kakarot. Ah! They'd have to like spend
Yeah,
like four
they could
rounds
actually
charging.
do the photos. Yeah,
Just
they could
four
actually
rounds
do
of.
it properly. It'd be kind of great.
Just I'm gonna start charging my my big bang attack. Okay, it's gonna take like 10 rounds.
Oh no. It would take, yeah, I think there was a role for charging as well. You charged a set amount of key as well. So it was somewhat generous.
Brilliant. I love it. So that's
Maybe if you put it down to D100s, it might be more playable.
yeah, or just like limited the number of d6. Just downscale everything comparatively, if
Yeah,
you're
that,
able
that
to.
could work too. That could maybe just multiply it.
Yeah, just roll that number. Yeah, because eventually, like,
See, that works.
if you're
Yeah.
rolling 900 d6s, surely by that point you could just take the average. Because at that point you would probably get an
I
averaged out
think that
amount.
yeah, I'll be honest. I very much doubt it. And the books are pretty slim, so it's not exactly a very crunchy system.
Yeah,
It's one of those things. Um, it very much feels like a tie-in to the show.
rather than just a
But it
seriously
is
done thing.
yes. Oh yeah, but it is kind of an oddity, and I do really like it. So I'd very much like to run it. I don't think anyone that ever has. Want to be the first in there. Um, and
So,
I know. At least Nathan would be. Nathan's a Dragon Ball Z enough. That'd be quite funny.
yeah. So that was our section on Tabletop Book Club. So check out the Sovereign Stone campaign book and check out whatever that. What was it
Yes,
actually called? The book?
I think it's just called the Dragon Ball Z role playing game. I think it's just that generic.
Wow.
If you can find a copy, pick it up because I've seen two copies of it, and one of them was given to me, and the other I found in some shop in Stafford, I think it was.
Interesting. So this week on Critical Fumble, Wizards of the Coast surprisingly have not
Oh yes.
they've not had chance to fuck up yet. Um, although I'm
Well,
saying that
I have found something.
I've been seeing reports of people opening up the new Magic set, and you know they're doing this
Oh no.
number out of 500 thing now, like they do with baseball cards, the super rare things that are like supposed to be like the
Right.
investors chase after. One guy pulled one, and it
Oh
curled
yeah.
out of the pack. It has already become a Pringle.
I can. Oh wow.
So,
Aren't they already complaining about like the quality of the cards being a bit
yeah.
terrible now?
And it's like, if you're going to have a system where you're going to have these sort of investor chase rares, you could at least make sure the specifically investor chase rares are made of slightly better card stock.
You'd think.
Because, I mean,
It's funny you mentioned that because sorry, carry on.
these things like sell for like several thousands of pounds, some of them. So you'd think that they would be like, yeah, we should
Ooh,
probably make these
okay.
actually slightly better.
It's I mean, especially you know what collectors are like as well.
Like,
Checking for everything.
it's the icon is slightly off center. I'm suing your company. Oh,
It
something
makes me want
along
to
those
go on like
lines.
Reddit and just say I found a green cheek Pikachu, which I know does not exist. Just Photoshop it on really convincingly. Spread like some really dumb rumor. It's funny you mention stuff like that because just Christmas gone, one of the things I got was for they're like collector's plaques, for D&D,
Oh,
just commemorative things, and they are actually numbered.
oh dear.
So I'm not sure how much they're going to be worth, but I've got four of them.
Just holding on to them till you're like. Actually, I guess if they are truly this limited thing, they might have a decent
They
value
are,
like
but
a few
one of them
months
is
after.
like one of 400 or something. Do I'll fish them.
Hmm.
They're only over there. I'll just grab them.
Because I know that Konami did something similar with Yu-Gi-Oh, where they did the metal cards and things, the big metal ones. They do them each year. While they're not numbered per se, I think they might actually have like a proof of authenticity certificate that might be numbered. But I remember they tried to sell them and they were struggling to sell them because nobody fucking wanted them.
Like, I don't think they're not even cards. They're flat out ingots. Um,
Oh,
we've got one for Spelljammer.
nice.
One for the DM's guide. That one's that one's out of 9,995. That one's a bit more common. Surprise, surprise. What again? Same for Monster Manual,
Hmm.
and the other one, a player's handbook. Okay, so the main three is like limited to 9,995, but
Hmm.
the Spelljammer one's down to 5,000.
Interesting.
Like semi-rare, I want to say.
It'll be one of those things where if you keep them like safe and looked after, they might be worth something in
Like,
like
I'll hold
30
this
or
for like
40
decades,
years.
leave them in the wrapping and everything, like completely untouched, and then they might be worth a penny,
Uh,
maybe.
I'm just imagining now somebody trying to
They're
read,
just kind of neat.
like trying to read an entire like
Yeah.
player handbook made of metal.
Oh, I kind of want one just for the novelty now, or just like get like like you can get those fake book covers,
Yeah.
like or fake book frames. I want like a Book of Grudges style fake book frame.
Ooh.
I can put any old book in.
It's it's just a fucking he just put a copy of like what's it called? 50 Shades of Grey and in a book cover entitled fucking The Book of Grudges or something like Mordekainen's Tome of Foes or whatever. It's like, what have you what have you been reading, Mordekainen? What have you doing in your spare time?
I always wonder what people like in universe think about people like wizards who just name a whole book after themselves.
They must. Well, it's like I guess that's why
They
the idea of wizards being pretentious comes from. Oh, look at this Volo.
Yes,
He
I
wrote a book
suppose.
about himself.
I think they're so great. I think they're so great. Discovered something and put himself on the cover.
Instead of like a big dragon or something cool, he put his own like big sweaty face on it.
I want Wizards of the Coast to be that brazen, just like a new cover for Volos. It's just a big sweaty Volo face.
He's been
Like the least photogenic look you could possibly give him.
that they caught him a bard caught him at a feast or something, stuffing his face. It like drew him, like speed
Four
painted
pints
him.
in, it's got a bit of flush.
He's got a bit of flush. He's got a bit of like like
Mm.
gravy sauce in his beard from his meaty dinner.
Or, or one of those Christmas parties. Okay.
Or he got caught leering at the barmaids. Like a
Or by the end,
paparazzi.
you look 1 second too long.
Yeah, when like paparazzi get those like unflattering pictures of celebrities. Imagine that just bards with speed
Yes.
painter bards.
Like some big red arrow pointing at him for some reason.
Archmage Volo found in scandal with Baldur's Gate barmaid. Turns out he really,
The
really
barmaids
likes
like set it up too.
sexy, thick goblins.
The barmaid set it up too. Like, agreed
Yeah,
to the whole thing and then just ratted him afterwards.
the barmaid was a plant. Not a literal plant, but that would
Then after
also
a
be
bit, that'd be
funny.
cash.
Yeah, just well, yeah. Especially in a seedy era like
That
Baldur's
would come out
Gate.
after the fact.
Yeah. It's an
You
article
know,
by like a separate newspaper.
kind of D&D and just. Oh, and Eberron, don't they have like multiple newspapers?
I think so,
They have like
yeah.
weird techno. Yeah. Now, why want the D&D? Why anyone bothers to live in Baldur's Gate?
I don't
You
know.
get the worst of like loads of problems with the Sword Coast. And if you're really unlucky, the whole town just gets sucked into hell from time to time.
Like I like how you say that as if it's like the plot of Descent to Avernus. It doesn't is a frequent occurrence. Not even the first time.
So the peasants look around, oh, blubbing heck, we're back in hell.
Well, the barman's just
I
like
find this.
just polishing a pint glass, realizes he's in hell because the pint glass set on fire. So, must be Tuesday.
It does seem to attract like all the world's problems, which is really weird for one place in the world.
Yeah. And not all of its problems are even related to crime. It's just something's just happened to the place.
Yeah, it's a cursed place. Don't live there. Um,
It's like the plot of Baldur's Gate 3. It just gets attacked by mind flayers from space.
yeah, and I think in another of all the Baldur's Gate games, some calamity's about to get it every single time.
Yeah.
Like Neverwinter Nights, same thing.
It's Neverwinter Nights.
Just
Oh,
don't go
the
there.
problem's going to be a Neverwinter this time, right? Right? Nope. It's
No,
Baldur's Gate
still Baldur's
again.
Gate.
You
Oh,
know
it's hell
what?
again.
You
Oh
know why
no.
I bet people live in Baldur's Gate? I imagine the property prices are through the floor. That's why people live there. It's
If you can't
so
afford to
cheap
live
to
anywhere
live there.
else, so live
Yeah.
in Baldur's Gate.
Yeah.
Gotta say, I'm glad you had some funny news,
Hey.
because I've got some not so funny news.
Oh.
Something I could think of was there is a con in the US that caught a bit of flack because they put up the Indie RPG Creator Summit,
Oh.
um, and they did like a promotional picture for like, their big guests, and a lot of them are like a lot of them are veterans of like AD&D, that era.
Yeah.
So surprisingly, a lot. There's not many. There's not many bisexual wheelchair users of color, that kind of stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And when some people on Twitter saw the photo, they thought, "Where's the diversity people?" It's all, and then that became a whole thing.
Mm-hmm.
So they had to well, I guess they got pressed into apologizing, and there's a whole fight going on, which is still kind of going on because the same people are still there. They haven't told like the guests that were or the old photograph to leave because that'd be stupid. But
Yeah.
had to like scramble to find creators of like I guess the new audience they're going for, and
Hmm.
awkwardly put up a new post even though the fight's already started.
Yeah, it's just
Apparently, their
like
complaint was it looks too yeah.
just a lot of damage control.
Yeah, pretty much. Probably the problem was it was quote unquote too white, whatever whatever that means.
I I can kind of like sympathize a little bit because I know there's like a bunch of good creators out there from various different backgrounds, and it is a but like
Yes.
so for, but there's probably like looking at it like oh majority AD&D people, but yeah, well there's probably a couple in there, and also you shouldn't probably
Yeah.
you shouldn't assume the orientation of some person, it's,
Oh
oh
no.
just because someone doesn't.
Yeah,
There's always the
it
things like
wasn't
just
like
because
as
somebody doesn't look like they use a wheelchair doesn't mean they don't use a wheelchair. There's always the thing I get. It's like okay,
it's yeah.
but
Yeah, I think it's a case of they got a load of guys who were veterans of the industry.
hmm,
They all just so happened to be older and white, and then Twitter did what Twitter does,
yeah.
and now it's a mess. Uh, I love Twitter. It's a great place if you want an argument.
If you want an argument, tits, or like I don't know, some really like, if you want to
Mm.
get your memes without going to 4chan, it's fine. You'll be a bit late, but at least you're not on 4chan, I guess.
I love the commitment, and everyone's made to not call it X.
Yeah, it's Elon Musk. I'm changed the name. Everyone else, I don't care. It's still registered as twitter.com. The domain is still registered at
Yeah,
twitter.com.
yeah.
Even 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 Twitter itself isn't calling itself X technically.
Yeah, he legally could. He just hasn't. I don't know why he likes it. It's like I get liking a particular aesthetic, right? But I don't get. He just likes one letter.
I think it's like,
Really
ooh,
weird.
it looks really mysterious and modern. It's no, not really.
Yeah, maybe the
It
90s.
it
Yeah,
looks. You know what it feels like? It feels very edgy teenager. Yeah, welcome to the main villains of this world are Company X.
yeah.
That's what he's
Maybe in
trying
the
to be. He's
90s.
trying to be like a 90s era supervillain. He even
Well, I
dresses
love
like
it.
one.
Oh God, if you want to see stuff like that, there was a really good like on it. It's a Doom wad. It's called like it's like Revenge of the X Slayer.
Oh.
I'll check the full name of it. It's really funny. Um,
But that
I
that
want to. I'll check it. It's really funny.
That that was critical
Um, it-
fumble, by the way, everyone. With an extra bonus critical fumble, just laughing at every opportunity we get to just laugh at Elon Musk and Twitter in general. We have a bit of a giggle
Sometimes
here.
it's easy. You got to think through.
So
Oh,
so
just find the name. Right, so you're gonna
yeah.
love this. So it's called.
Ooh.
So the game's called Slayer's X
Uh huh.
Terminal Aftermath: Vengeance of the Slayer. That's the full title,
Oh.
and it's apparently that it was made. So it was made legitimately, and the
Hmm.
game's actually pretty good. But it was made like a decade and a half after the fact when this guy and his best friend
Yeah.
uh joked about making this game and they never got around to making it, so he did it himself in the same style as he would have made it when he was 15.
That's commitment. That's commitment.
It's kind of special. It's kind of great. Um, yeah. Wait, what
So,
got next?
we have the announcement of skirmish report. Our skirmish report thing. So this
Oh,
week we
yes,
don't actually have a
yes.
skirmish report. We have like some old legacy stuff we could briefly talk about, but skirmish report. The idea of that is we sit down, play a quick game of something that isn't necessarily as big as a proper pointed game of Warhammer 40k. It could be, but it probably isn't going to be because that's it's
I
yeah.
didn't have 2,000 points of anything yet.
Yeah, that's a heck of an
Um,
investment, time wise and money wise. So,
skirmish could do. No, yes, I was thinking what to do. So I've got books and skirmish games for days. Most of them are Osprey, but I bought a very old, interesting little box set from There's a franchise like called Wars and Mutant Chronicles, which is great. It's very, ironically, very 90s. Like everything's big shoulder pads and Space Marines, but a different kind of Space Marine because everyone was on that boat apparently. And they did a skirmish box set, so everything's all in the box ready to go. Pretty much unopened when I received it.
Hmm.
And it looks like it's quite a fun little game. It's got like map tiles and everything. So it looks like a decent little go. The scenario is pretty classic. You got like a really elite squad of like would-be space marines and literal undead zombies with guns. And very now these guys, they sort of fill the role of like wizards, like cult leaders.
Interesting.
And in my head, they look like if anyone's a fan of Iron Maiden, they look like any given Iron Maiden album cover. I kind of like it.
Are
Um,
you gonna if you paint them, are you
Tim,
gonna paint them up in the exact like Iron Maiden style? 'Cause that would be so fun.
no, I no, I think they did playing on one lot of them in black and purple, the other in red and purple.
Hmm.
So if you have three players, I can at least like divvy it out.
Yeah, that makes
But
sense.
I did go for like the Iron Maiden like the flesh sort of the right color.
Hmm.
My other thing was I wanted the one of the units to look like they come from the Doom games, like so they were meant to be expendable. So it went black and red.
Nice.
Units of the era as well, because I think ironically it was 1993 when that first came out,
Oh,
and has been played since on
1993.
every single appliance known to man. I've seen it on fridges, calculators,
I'm actually genuinely
Tamagotchis,
surprised that
phones.
I think I've seen it on a pregnancy test once. Somehow. Congratulations! It's Slayer. I'm surprised there isn't like
It's
a
Slayer.
Doom tabletop RPG to be honest at this point. Maybe it's something I'll have to look
I
into.
did. Bizarre enough, back when I had an iPhone. So we're talking pre-iPhone, so iPod, one of the
Yeah.
later ones, I think. Forget which one. Um, they did have an app. 'Cause I used to use the App Store quite a lot. They had like an
Hmm.
app of like Doom 2 game, but it wasn't
Oh,
a shooter. It was a turn-based RPG.
it that's
It was okay. It was
weird.
yeah, yeah. It was kind of it was a bit odd. But I didn't mind it. And actually, I think the other one that there is that you can play. There's a fifth edition conversion or the newer version of Doom, the 2016 release.
Yeah.
So that is technically a thing, and you play
Interesting.
as demons. So it's quite good actually. I played the one shot; it's quite fun.
Nice. So yeah, other things we've got planned are we might be doing some kill team stuff. I have some orc boys for a kill team. I just need to build them and paint them now.
Oh, it's funny. I was thinking of doing boys myself. That might be a very funny matchup.
Boys versus
Just low
boys.
lads, and ironically, in all seriousness, just load of boys having a thrash.
Just boys in the pub having a thrash. It's
It's
just a
very
bar
yeah,
fight, you know.
literally that.
We, we, we were just boys, you know.
I've never actually played orcs in any Warhammer thing ever, but I've always liked them because they're the funny faction.
They're just like
Like
northern football
everyone else is trying to be
hooligans.
deathly serious. Oh god, yeah. Everyone else has like some super serious motive. Oh, they're just really grim, and the orcs just want to fight things.
Loves me crumper, loves me chopper, loves me shooter.
Yeah,
Eight homies, eight elves, eight chaos, eight gits. Enough said.
it's also really, really just easy to just if you to build equipment for.
Hmm.
Like, if you want to like Space Marines, you got a load of options. Orcs, it's super easy.
You got your shooters, you got your choppers, you got your melters, and you got your What's the other one?
sluggers,
Sluggers.
burners,
Birders. Yeah.
yeah, the basic pistol. And then if you're really, really technically advanced, you get like the big shooter or
Big.
the rocket launcher.
Yeah. I still think my favorite orc type. I wish I'd kept them was storm boys. Just just rocket rocket yourself into battle. Definitely nothing wrong with that.
Eh, they were just they were just orc boys, but faster.
Yeah. So yeah, we will be doing
Yeah,
a
there's
skirmish
yeah.
report every so often, or attempt to. Is the idea.
We will, yes, time allowing. Yes, so we keep an eye on that because I'm looking forward to using it as a way to play other non-Games Workshop games.
Hmm.
I brought one just recently actually called the Doomed, which I might want to get into.
Hmm.
Basically, it's post-apocalyptic skirmish game. It looks like a lot of fun, and it doesn't matter what range of miniatures you're pulling from, as long as they're the same scale roughly.
Yeah.
It might be really yeah. So keep an eye on that space. Yeah.
Our next section is Explorers Guild, where we look at some of the more neglected parts of Faerun because Wizards of the Coast seems to forget about everywhere except the fucking Sword Coast.
Yeah, it does that a bit. Yeah, so we just look at fun settings we quite like.
Mhm.
Um,
Not
I
necessarily
got
always
I got a bit.
Faerun,
So what?
but usually Faerun
I have to
because
admit, my first thought was actually not Faerun.
ah
It's in Ravenloft.
mm,
And there's loads in Ravenloft, but I'm thinking Harakir because I love Harakir.
ah
It's sort of like imagine ancient Egypt but D&Dified. So this
interesting.
was like second edition. So it's an AD&D era, D&D as well.
Hmm.
So that's when it got its start. It's been around a while. It's about as old as Barovia is in terms of like the actual books.
Yeah.
It's a really really cool idea behind it. It's like very ancient Egyptian. The Dark Lord of the Realm is a resurrected pharaoh who actually wants to die, but he needs his soul to do that, so he can be mortal again.
Interesting.
The problem is until he gets his soul back, which you're not exactly easy just finding a soul where you have no idea where it is, he is unkillable. That will like great, I think they still have like greater mummies.
Hmm.
Sort of works like that, but on steroids. Um, so he can't die conventionally. He can be defeated. He'll fall over and then he'll just get back up again. Literally a deathless being.
Hmm.
It, and of course, everything is ancient Egypt, and there's a lot of just odd things about it. Like, obviously, being Ravenloft, there's undead in the sand everywhere. So sand zombies are really common. The thing that they find a fun image of them. They have like a whole weird races that I haven't seen put back in the game for some reason. Um, they call them Wemmicks. They are like lion centaur people. And
Lion
I think they're really neat.
centaurs.
And I'm kind of
Interesting.
yes, they're called Wemmicks.
Hmm.
I don't think they're a conversion in fifth edition, which is a bit of a shame because they look kind of at least most of their depictions look really cool. I think that they're very like they're like the tribal kind of peoples. I think I'm
Yeah.
not sure if they got again. I saw on fifth edition. I'm not sure they were playable, but
Hmm.
they look all right. They also had things like desert trolls were a thing, which were kind of not bothered by fire. So they were trying something new, which is quite nice.
Definitely
And
a
if you like,
unique
yeah,
troll. If they're like not weak to fire, that's very scary.
yeah, water does it though. But in a desert,
Hmm.
how often are you going to really be running into large quantities of water?
Yeah.
Unless you're playing a cleric or pick the old, great food water.
Hmm.
Um, yeah, so and of course, if you like dungeon crawling, which AD&D was like the early editions really were crazy on dungeon crawling.
Hmm.
Tombs forever. tombs, traps, all the classic dungeoneering bits. But I really like the fact that they like this was like an early example of them like really committing to a theme and just running all the way with it. They didn't like half-ass any of it. They just everything is clearly meant to be based on like Hammer horror movies and a genuine attempt at ancient Egyptian like culture and stuff. They've even got some of the same gods and everything, so they're really like showing what they were trying to do.
Hmm.
Haven't done anything with it since the. Did you pick up the new Ravenloft book, or the newer Ravenloft
I
book?
haven't, but I've looked at bits of it off of like the
It's a decent
wikis and
little book
whatnot.
for at least inspiration.
Hmm.
It doesn't flesh out a lot, sadly, but it does. It's good inspiration if nothing else. And the Harakir stuff is a bit more in depth because it's been around a little longer. So yeah, I'd be up for a. It's one of those settings I would like to use a lot more. Just need to. You would have to do a lot of converting, I think, to make it work.
Hmm. Yeah.
Yeah, there's some weird. There's some. Was it other side? There's a lot of weird like enemies in there that like. Probably didn't the second edition had like fire beetles and like like weird animals that just randomly breathe fire.
That feels very like Fallout fire ants. Which, if you've ever played any of the Fallout games,
Mm.
fire ants are fucking terrifying.
Well, then I remember in three, that was one of the first things you run into, wasn't it? If you go a certain direction.
Yeah, if you go a certain way, it's one of the earliest things you encounter, which is also one of the first things that can really sort of kill you quite quickly if you're not prepared for them. Yeah, so fire beetles in the same lines are probably quite scary. Just, oh, it's just a beetle, you know. Whoosh. Oh.
And same thing with the toads; they were just fire-breathing toads.
Okay, beetles I can understand, but fire-breathing toads is a bit...
Yes.
That's a bit out there. Um,
Yeah, but I do appreciate the genuine effort, and it's not a bad little setting. Um, kind of wish they'd actually done a full-on dedicated book to it, though.
hmm. Yeah, I feel the same way about the
Maybe.
setting that I wanted to get into. Because you know they've done a
Of
bunch of
course.
Magic the Gathering stuff over the past few sort of editions.
Oh yeah, yeah,
This,
yeah.
for some reason, despite the fact that there was a huge big thing about it in the card game, they went with Strixhaven as their D&D setting for that sort of period,
Oh,
rather
yes,
than New
yeah. I remember
Phyrexia,
that one.
which would have been a lot more bloody interesting. So, New Phyrexia,
Yes, I know about that one briefly,
yeah, it's the
because
sort
sorry,
of machine plane, but
oh, okay.
there's
Didn't I
like
don't actually know much about the plane itself.
yeah, so it was originally sort of just a plane of just absolute order, I guess. It was like just barren, empty, metallic wasteland until this guy Khan shows up, and he's like, "Oh, I like this place. I'll name it Argentum, and I'll set aside a guardian for it." But the guardian goes completely fucking bonkers and decides to kidnap a bunch of people from other planes and some plants and stuff, and then renames the place Mirrodin. But because Khan, being Khan with his heart, being Phyrexian, he dribbled some oil, and the oil spread until eventually, like, it affected the core of the plane itself, and now everything is very sort of I don't know whether you call it alien. I don't know. It's very sort of mechanical horror, I guess. The oil mutates things into sort
Yes,
of weird organic metal fusions that look very well. It's definitely very
pretty
horror
cool actually.
inspired, yeah. But it's a really
It's funny
interesting.
you mentioned that because the only time I heard of it,
Hmm.
that's what I was gonna just quickly say that the only time I actually heard of Phyrexia was I heard that Junji Ito of all people was gonna be doing the artwork for the Magic cards,
Yeah, and it would have been really
and
cool.
he's one of the guest artists on it.
Yeah, it would have been really cool if they did the new
They are
Phyrexia
really
book
cool.
and use some of Junji Ito's art in the book. That would have been cool. Or even, can you imagine a Junji Ito artwork DM screen? Because they always do DM screens and stuff for some of the books. Can you
Oh, I'd
imagine?
love that.
That would have been awesome. But no, instead we get prom night,
Uh, Strixhaven.
which is Strixhaven as a setting for
Which is
D and
weird
D.
because we don't do that here.
It's so confusing to me because it's a setting that really only lends itself to a full party of wizards and not much else. Like if you're a
Extra
sorcerer,
trainee wizards.
if you're a sorcerer, you don't, or a warlock or whatever, you don't
You're
need to
doing
go
that.
to magic school. Why? So
It's a great
it's
point.
really limiting for the player's backstory of why the fuck are they there. It's
They're not
either
even
like,
like full wizards. They're like wizards in training.
yeah, it's
It's
either,
super weird.
so you can't do a full campaign in it. Realistically, you'd have to do it as like a
But
Planescape style thing where you visit it at one point.
that got a new re-release as well, very recently.
Yeah, and it's
Timely.
really expensive for like no reason. Because I wanted to buy it. I saw it in a
Yeah,
local game store, and it's really. I mean, it is 3 books, but it's really expensive. It's like 95 or
it's,
something.
I've been following that actually because I have a passing interest in um Sigil, which is one of the Planescape settings, like the main hub city.
Hmm.
Because they used to had like there was a really edgy like of the time game called Planescape Torment.
Yeah.
It's set in Sigil and it's like 100% undead, like very Frankenstein and very weird and slightly gross. And
Hmm.
the new book, the artwork's really pretty looking, so it's got a lot of the old players of the time going, this isn't Planescape. What is this?
Yeah. This is
And looking
not.
at the old artwork, I kind of have to agree. Not
Yeah.
even that attached to the setting. It's yeah,
Because
it's
it
a bit.
doesn't. It doesn't.
If you want a bit of fun, just to compare.
Yeah, it doesn't even seem to set up Planescape like they did in the 3.5, where you have Planescape this, Planescape that after the first bit. It doesn't seem to set up future Planescape releases, which is also like really confusing. It's like, oh yeah, it's
Yeah,
Planescape,
Planescape's got like,
except
yeah,
there's like a couple planes.
I was gonna say because it did like they did a dozen books in that too, which is the weird bit.
Yeah, and that was a
Like
good
in
way
second
for them
edition, they
to.
put so much stuff.
Yeah, because that was a really good way for them to put in the other like magic stuff in there. Because a setting idea or multiversal setting where you shift from plane to plane. I wonder where that idea is familiar to. I wonder what settings would work really well there. But instead we get
That'd be a
like,
multiverse, wouldn't it?
yeah, we get like 3 separate non-planescape magic setting books which have like maybe one adventure a piece in them. Which I wouldn't
But wouldn't you
necessarily.
rather like?
Yeah, I wouldn't necessarily have minded if they did that in a new Phyrexia book, because at least in new Phyrexia you have very obvious villains that you could very easily make a campaign around.
Brexia still does look pretty cool. They haven't like taken the soul out of that one yet, as
Yeah,
well.
it's one of those settings where you just go objective survive or objective kill Elish Norn eventually.
Uh,
Really
yeah, if you
easy
want
for
that.
DMs, you know.
Hmm. If
But
you want that, you think the Dark Sun.
well, yeah, that's true. Yeah, I
Same
mean,
era though,
yeah,
actually, isn't it? I think on it.
yeah. Maybe Wizards are just scared to make any setting with anything remotely scary about it now. I don't know.
Oh, I think they're trying to play everyone at the same time.
Yeah.
And when you do that, you end up with a lot of like settings that look and sound the same as each other. It's
Yeah.
never really for better.
Yeah, that's our
There's a little bit,
topical
yeah.
section on Explorers Guild. Lamenting what could have been, and lamenting that once
It's
again Wizards hasn't made something new since second edition again.
sadly sadly almost entirely true. Apart from third party, which are doing Wizards of the Coast better than Wizards of the Coast.
Yeah, and thankfully they're still allowed to do so because of the backpedaling on the OGL.
And there's always Larian as well, doing their own thing.
Mm-hmm. So our last section we have for you today is our TTRPG time machine, where we potentially look at older editions, rulings on certain things, and basically fixing tabletop rulebooks mistakes by just looking at how they used to do it and seeing if it's better.
Okay. Yeah, I do have one. This I'll just try and find the original ruling on it.
Alright.
Um, because what I'll be looking at is the turn undead feature, which which is a different. Oh, there we are. Yeah, there we go. So yeah, so basically, in fifth edition, it's the way they actually do bother to turn undead is they have if it's of a low enough CR, it has to make a wisdom save, and if it fails, it becomes afraid and has to run away.
Mm-hmm.
Which isn't useless, but it's also not fun. But it's also but the original version I think was a little better.
Yeah.
So the way it works, you have to like depending on the actual at the time CR of the undead, you have to like roll either on 2d6 a 7, a 9, or an 11,
Hmm.
and if you roll that, then they are afraid. If your level's like that much higher than their CR, it flat out deals damage or destroys them outright.
Mm-hmm. That.
It works in whole groups as well, so it's kind of insane. That's where the whole joke of just clerics just dusting a whole load of skeletons off in one go, probably where it comes
Ah.
from.
Which is good because isn't like Ton and Dead supposed to be like a once per day thing?
Yes, I think that explains why that was the first draft did it.
Yeah, that seems to be like yes, it's like a once a day ability should be powerful. You know, because
And I don't. Yeah, I mean, again, it's one of those where the newer version isn't terrible either,
yeah, it's
but
just
the old version was
it's
just a little more
well,
interesting.
the new version isn't something I would like preach from the rooftops as like being the best thing since sliced mimic bread.
Now, honestly, I think for a ability that good, I think that the paladins is it detect good and evil is honestly better.
Yeah.
A divine sense because you can just it doesn't give you fine detail, but anything but in 60 feet of you that's either or undead or fiend or celestial, just you can sense where it is,
Mm.
which is kind of insane. There's a lot of like cases you could like maybe you want to run a game where the whole mystery is there's a vampire about somewhere and you don't know who it is. But with this ability, you can go, nah, nah, there he is.
He's right there.
Can sense the exact spot he's hiding on. Level one paladin like a level one or two paladin ability as well, so it's not like hard to get hold of.
Hmm. Yeah, it's just like I think the cleric ability turn of edge should be because the amount of situations, unless you're playing a very specific campaign like Ravenloft, there are very few situations where you're going to be able to actually effectively use turn undead.
Yes, it's undead only.
Yeah.
It could be expanded to maybe it was a choice to or at high levels it works on fiends as well.
Hmm.
That would also be appropriate. Because again, with a lot of the older editions as well, there was the whole like there was the idea that all paladins are always lawful good.
Hmm.
So there are very much that line of paladins and clerics fight undead and demons because that's what the church says is fine. That kind of thinking.
That kind of vibe. Yeah. Um, I'm
Yeah.
going like in the opposite direction with my time machine fix for this week. I'm fixing Fireball.
Okay.
So Fireball has often been touted as the
Okay.
most OP spell ever. But originally, while it still had the same damage type, there was always this thing of it isn't just a boof of fire. It had like force to it, like a siege weapon does. Which means that back in those
Ooh.
times, you couldn't just use it inside a building because you would blow up half the building with you in it. You would probably affect the structural stability of the building, which would
Oh.
cause you which would cause you some hassle as well. Especially if it's like, you're underneath, oh no, Neverwinter Castle, and you damage the foundations of Neverwinter Castle, causing part of it to fall down. I think some people might be a bit pissed off about that. It made Fireball in some ways more powerful in certain situations, but way more situational and difficult to use basically 80% of the time. Which is why it having a high damage made sense and was okay balance-wise. Because you couldn't just spam it inside of a cave unless you wanted to die by rocks.
Like that because it's the one thing that stops me from picking Fireball is the radius, which is kind of a pain in the bum.
Yeah.
Um, that and I've had a little peek at other spells, and Lightning Bolt has a similar, like a different line, different range,
Mm.
same damage amount though.
Yeah, and it's a lot
It's
less
just
risky to use.
yeah, yeah. Being sure it doesn't deal fire damage, but you deal the same amount of lightning damage,
Hmm.
and it's a line which is much easier to control and can be as useful, especially against something that's like undead or things that like to stand in a nice, neat
Hmm.
line or nice and close together. You can get multiple targets on it.
Yeah. And the thing is with how this sort of, I guess, new old way of using Fireball works is it kind of also gets around the whole evocation wizard bullshit of, oh yeah, I cast Fireball, but I can protect every single one of my friends. Yeah, you can protect your friends from the Fireball. What about the cave-in that happens 5 seconds afterwards?
That's yeah, that's definitely something the DM thought of. Like, well, this spell's really powerful. How do I make it difficult to use? Oh, I know. There's actual collateral
Yeah.
from using it.
Meanwhile, later editions just like, what's the worst that could happen?
And they'd probably use it in like cave with a gas pocket.
Now that would be funny. Just, oops, I guess.
Yeah, that I think that's the point where, as a DM, you have to start giving things immunity to fire damage,
Yeah.
which is something that's always weird because I get it's a good spell, but as a DM, wouldn't you just start figuring out that they keep using fireball? And one of the you either go, you start throwing things at the party that actually has immunity to fire damage,
Hmm.
so you force the wizard to use another spell, or you give give enemies fireball and use it back at them.
Yeah, yeah. Just, oh no, it looks like the
Or
fireball
the
is.
yeah,
Oops.
it's or the cheaper alternative. Just use the silence spell on them because it doesn't. It doesn't like remove all their spell casting,
Hmm.
and sorcerers can still get around that with meta magic. But Fireball does have the actual spoken component bit.
Yeah,
If you cast silence, they can't use Fireball. Or wizards anyway, they're kind of screwed.
yeah. Yeah, sorcerers can still use subtle spell, but at least they have to like use a sorcery point to actually do that.
Yeah, yeah. And Silence is level 2 spell, so it's if you're a high level mage, that's not really much of a bother, to be
Yeah,
honest.
it's kind of like pissing mana into the wind. It's fine.
There's also the other bonus that it doesn't get used in a lot of games I've seen, but when science is used, you can't communicate with each other, which would make roleplay combat kind of hard.
Hmm. But make it interesting. Imagine trying to communicate using sign language and
Yes.
using skill checks that actually infer how effectively you communicate, and the DM does like Chinese whispers. Well, it appears your paladin is saying we should go to the market and get some food. Sure, that's what he said.
And that'd be even funnier if you take into account that not all sign. It's like every other language. Not all sign language is the same sign language.
Oh, yeah.
So like um, you know that the did you listen to much of the new news about the Marvel series Echo?
I heard
They
something
made
about it, but I haven't. I don't know what it's about.
the short of it. They make a big fuss about the character being deaf,
Ah.
and there's lots of sign language in it. There's lots of inclusion in that regard.
Hmm.
Um, but the thing they never made up is that for people that aren't deaf, it's really annoying because a lot of the shows in sign language and they can't read sign language. The other
Hmm.
thing about it is it's what they're using is American Sign Language or ASL,
Yeah.
which is different to what we've got here is BSL. So if you might be really good at ASL, you try it in Britain, and a British deaf person will probably not have a clue what you're on about.
Oh dear. Oh,
Yeah,
that's
there
unfortunate.
may be other variants as well because it gets like any other language. French is American English is not necessarily one to one to English. Um,
So someone who's deaf might still have to have the subtitles on, depending on which country they're watching from.
yes, yes. If you are British and deaf, you've learned BSL. You
Hmm.
want to watch this series. I've heard it's terrible, so you might not want to do that anyway. But if you want to watch it, you're gonna have to contend with the subtitles because you can't understand ASL. You might not be able to do it if you've known BSL your entire life.
Fantastic. And on that
Yeah.
bombshell of being deaf and not being able to understand this show, effectively designed around deaf people, it's time to end. Thank you guys for tuning in to our second episode of the
Oh, dear.
podcast, and we will see you guys hopefully next week with
With
more.
news of a skirmish game we're going to
Yes,
do.
or at least something weird. I don't know. Um, we
Oh, weird and easy.
The thing is with this podcast, even we don't know what's going to happen next week, so it's a complete delicious mystery box. You guys like mystery boxes, right? You
Oh,
do.
we always find time. Don't be we're never out of content around here. It's back to the homebrew, isn't it? Again this week too.
Yes.
Um, so that'll be been kind of I've had a week to stew on it. I've got something pretty comfortable for this week. So keep an eye
Mm-hmm.
out for that
Yep.
and all the rest, of course. And keep on listening and sending all sorts of meme comments and genuine ones too. Uh, any interaction apart from the bad stuff is a good interaction.
Yep. This has been Chaoticjexak and Byzantiadev, and we wish you a very good night. Bye bye,
Signing
everybody.
out.
Yeah, we're gonna do a raid now for those on the stream. We're going to actually. Oh, okay. I'm gonna. Who's raid? We could raid someone playing D&D or something. That makes sense.
It would be appropriate. I don't know
Uh,
many that I for at the moment though.
yeah. We'll just go with Arcadum. Sure, why not?
I was weirdly looking at that one just this very second. Open up Twitch.
All right.
Yeah,
There's a raid command. Exclamation mark raid for you guys on the stream. See you all soon.
soon.
Oh, there we go.
All right.